The last Russian jet lifted off from Havana. Its cabin full, its fuel carefully calculated, its mission clear: bring everybody home. And with that departure, a dramatic chapter unfolded in the Caribbean. But it is not an aviation story, it's a geopolitical warning sign. You're watching TimesXP. It's me, Dhriti Yatri, and according to the Russian state media, TASS, the final outbound flight carried Russian tourists out of Cuba as fuel shortage tightened through the grip on the island. For days, uncertainty. It had been building. Flights reduced, schedules slashed, airlines hesitating. Nearly 5,000 Russian visitors, they were feared stranded as jet fuel supplies began running dangerously low. Russia's flag carrier Aeroflot shifted into emergency mode. Aircraft, they were dispatched primarily for the return trips. Land refueled carefully, load passengers, take off immediately. No extended stay for them, no fresh tourist arrival, just extraction. But why is Cuba running out of fuel? The answer lies in layers of sanctions and supply chain. Cuba relies heavily on imported oil, a significant portion. It traditionally comes from Venezuela, ex-led by Nicolas Maduro. But Washington has tightened enforcement on Venezuelan oil import. Tankers monitored, financial channels restricted, energy flows. It was disrupted. Now, when Venezuelan shipments slowed, Cuba felt it most instantly. And then comes intensified pressure from the U.S. President Donald Trump. Sanctions sharpened, financial penalties expanded, warning issued to the companies doing business with Havana. Result: fuel deliveries become more complicated, more expensive, and in fact, in some cases, impossible. Inside Cuba, the consequences: it spread extremely fast. Blackouts rolled across neighborhoods. In fact, public transport, they cut back the route. Factories slowed the production. In fact, garbage trucks parked because diesel ran out. Hospitals stretched resources to maintain the essential services. And this is what an energy shortage looks like. Not just numbers, but daily disruption. In the meantime, in Moscow, the rhetoric, it really hardened. Vladimir Putin condemned the US sanctions as unjust and politically motivated. He pledged continued Russian support for Cuba. Energy assistance was discussed, financial backing was reaffirmed. Russia may have executed the tourists, but it has not withdrawn politically here. Now pause and zoom out here. Cuba sits just 90 miles from the United States coastline. Now that geography really matters, historically, strategically, and symbolically. Whenever tensions rise over there, the world, it pays attention. This is not just about troops or missiles here. Well, it is about leverage. Economic leverage, in fact, energy leverage, diplomatic leverage, Washington tightening the screws here. In the meantime, Moscow reinforcing the alliances and Havana navigating between pressure and partnership. The question is, what happens next? Will Russia increase the oil shipment despite sanctions risk here, or will Cuba secure alternative suppliers? Worst case scenario, will shortages deepen, pushing the entire island further into crisis? Well, ladies and gentlemen, one thing is clear here. The departure of that last Russian plane, it was not just the end of the tourist season. It was a signal that the Caribbean is once again becoming a frontline in global rivalry. And while the runway may now be very quiet, the geopolitical turbulence is far from over.